Hello, everyone. It's a great hat, Esmeralda.
Thank you.
Does it have a point on the top or is it round?
Oh, it's round.
Okay. If you stick up past the top of the picture, it looks like a witch's hat because you can't see the top. But the roundness is nice. Did everyone get their kits?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. And you've got them right there?
Yeah, I have 11, 12, and I got 9 as well from last time. So
Okay, excellent. Get everyone admitted here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. And there's Dr. Limari. More people coming still. "19 people. It's 20. And I'm taking up 2, so that's 18. Oh, one more, 19. So I hope everyone's got your kits and you've got them right there, hopefully, so we can play around with them together. This is our last training. A couple more. Oh my gosh, Jaime's on the moon. That might be a little difficult to do this project from the moon, but who knows? Maybe you'll get more science. Okay. Now, in the process of delivering these, we found little piles of some of the past bags full of science at some of the schools. If you got any questions about where to pick them up or how to get access to them, just talk to your site leader. And as always, if you don't have any, if you're missing some of the materials or if you need anything else or more kits or whatever, just call us up, either Jose or myself, and we'll fix it. We'll make it right. And also, as always, you can tell the kids we're open. We're open. Next week we'll be open. We're planning to open indoors again. We're all vaccinated here for 2 weeks, and we'll probably keep the tables outside, and we'll also start letting the kids come in for various things. So we're edging back towards normalcy here at the science workshop. And so tell the kids to come. The outdoor workshop is open as it has been Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Wednesday and Friday, 2 to 5. On Saturday, it's 10 to 3. So, so there's all that. Now, these 2 bags that you just got, quite extraordinary. But before we go to them, does anyone have any questions over the past project, either logistical or materials wise or concept, or anything from the past trainings we've done?
I know with the Walker bug project that we did, the diagonal slat pieces definitely do not work.
Diagonal, the ones cut like a diamond?
Yeah, the parallelograms.
Uh-huh.
They don't walk like they're supposed to. It's, I guess, only the regular rectangular shapes that can.
That's interesting. You know, we've got a bunch of those diamond ones that we got going here, and they hop around just fine. It's about solidifying the legs. When the legs go through the holes, then the rubber bands are solidifying, and you could put rubber bands on the top and or the bottom. So if the legs are connected solid to the parallelogram, then it should go. It should bounce. We've made those things on a whole bunch of different frames. We've made them just even on a cup. If you just tape it onto a cup, the cup hops around. So give it another shot there, making the legs solid with the board, and I bet it'll work. Anyone else? Any questions from the past few projects?
She wants something to kind of work with the.
Oh yeah, Jose's right here. He says we can also bring you the rectangular boards if you want. We have some of those left over as well. Now we're still waiting. We got this crazy back order for the chisels for the real fossil project. They're all still sitting here. And as soon as we get the chisels, we're gonna pack them off to you as well. So that's just an update on that. Okay, well, let's start with the glowing plexiglass LED project. This one, I mean, some projects we make and they're kind of cute and fun and the kids have a good time making them and you learn some science. And then when you're done, you're like, and they go right in the trash, which is okay because you learned your thing and you had the experience and you built those skills. But this one here is one that I imagine the kids are going to keep a hold of and take home and make a part of their little room at home forever, because it really comes out looking just like the kind you could buy for $39. In fact, it seems like Giovanna, who helps me do the videos and the bilingual thing, she made the one on the video and I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. I think she took it home and put it beside her bed because it really, it's an amazing thing. Basically, you've got the LEDs and they're stuck in the bottom of a little piece of wood and they shine exactly up into the edge of your piece of plexiglass. If you've got your piece of plexiglass there, have a look. Now, this is just one material. It's made out of acrylic plastic. By the way, do you know where plastic comes from? I always ask the kids that every time I'm dealing with something plastic. Where does plastic come from? Anyone? Aside from like the store, but where was the original source of
Dinosaurs.
plastic? Well, not dinosaurs, but the plants that lived in the time of the dinosaurs. It's petroleum. It's oil, crude oil, right there in your hand. Not just this kind of plastic, but the kind of plastic that your chip bag is made out of, and your polyester clothes, and your toys, and half of your car, and so many things these days are made from plastic. Unfortunately, a lot of that plastic is getting into the environment, both the soil and the river systems and the ocean. And it's interesting, it's quite interesting scientifically because it came from plants, right? Well, plants are green, plants are organic, that's great. But once it's turned into that petroleum and distilled and then made into the plastic, then if you put it back into the ecosystem, it's not helping at all. Sometimes it's not hurting, but a lot of times it is hurting because the things that will eat it or consume it or be displaced by it are messed up. Their little ecosystem's messed up. So, of course, the message is put your trash in the trash. Don't use disposable stuff as much as possible. And plastic especially, it needs to be kept away from the natural environment. On the other hand, you can make great little projects from it. So we got this little 5x5 section of plexiglass, and it's like I said, it's a homogeneous material. It's a single material. So you look through it and it's transparent, but then you look at it from the side and it's really frosted. It's got this really frosted look to it. We would call that translucent. Translucent means the light can go through, but it gets mixed up, gets reflected around. And so that's what's happening. The little LEDs are hitting that thing right on the edge. So it's going up into it. And then it starts bouncing around. It bounces off of all of the inside surfaces. So you can imagine if you're a little piece of light, which is called a photon, and you say you come through the top of the plastic, go through the top, you go to the top, and then now you're traveling through the plastic. Because it's transparent, you can do that. The photons will go right through something that's transparent. So they're coming through, and then they come out the bottom. So once they're inside, it's like if you're underwater. Have you ever been underwater, holding your breath, and then you look up, and you've got goggles on, or not, you just look at it with your eyes. You look up, you can see the bottom surface of the water. You're seeing that surface from the water side. So on the top, you're looking at the surface from the air side. And from the bottom, you're looking at it from the water side. Well, the piece of plastic, piece of plexiglass got that same situation. And so the photon will go through and it passes through that surface, and then it's in the plastic, and then it passes out the bottom of the plastic. On the other hand, if you feed it in there from the side, now sometimes it doesn't go through that surface. It will reflect off of that surface. So just like a light would reflect off of a mirror, bounces off a mirror, if it's already inside the plastic there, it's going to bounce off the inside layer of that plastic. It's going to bounce around. I got a little picture of that on the write-up that I sent the other day. And that's called internal reflection. Okay, internal reflection. And that's kind of what makes this go, because the photons coming off of the LEDs, they're going into the plexiglass inside there, and then they're bouncing all around. They're bouncing off the front and they're bouncing off the sides. And whenever they come to a little scratch, like all the scratches that you can make with both your little scratcher tool and with the sandpaper, whenever it comes to a scratch, it can get out. It gets out easier. And that's what you see glowing red when you've got your project done. All right, I don't want to blow it for you, but you could watch the video, and every place on the thing that's scratched turns red. So, well, actually, just in case you haven't, I can go into the vault here. We've got We've got a vault, because it used to be a bank. And I'll bring the iPhone here with me. Watch it happen. Is that not cool? Okay. So that's basically it. The sandpaper, you kind of use it like you're shading. If you've ever drawn with pencils or charcoal, you draw a line, you use your little cork tool to draw the lines. And then if you want to shade in the background, you use the sandpaper. You got to press into it. You got to make some decent scratches in there so that the photons can hit them and get reflected out. Okay. Aside from that, the science is the little button battery is what's giving the energy for the project. It's got a chemical reaction going on in there. It gives around 3 volts. And then those little LEDs, light emitting diodes. It's a semiconductor device, extremely efficient compared to the old kind of lights that we used to use. And it changes the electricity into light. It's a transition of electricity or a transition of energy from one form to another, which is what energy does all the time. So electricity, when it starts running through the LED, it makes the light. On the other hand, it only goes in one direction. That's really useful. That's how a lot of the structure of a computer works, is controlling which direction electricity can go. And that's what a diode does. And sometime, almost 80 years ago, they realized, oh, it can give off light as well. So now they've been developed to the point where they're really bright and they're much more efficient. It means you don't have to give as much electricity to get a nice light. But you still have to remember that it only goes in one direction. So if your kids hook it up and they don't get any light, it's, oh, it's not working, mine's broken. Well, flip your battery over, all right? Hook it up in the other direction and try it again. Now, in a little hint of what's going to happen in the next project, you see that the LEDs in this one are hooked up so that the 2 red parts are together and the 2 black parts are together. And you hook them both to the battery, just like that. And that is the kind of connection called a parallel connection. The lights are in parallel. All right. You could hook them up the other way. Other way, aside from parallel, is called series. And that is the sort of hand-to-hand way. You hook up the one side of the LED to one side of the battery, and then you hook the 2 LEDs together, red to black, and then the other one to the other side of the battery. So they're kind of in a row, they're in a series. That's why it's called a series circuit. And you could try to make it work. It probably won't work because in series, if there's 2 items in series, they share that voltage. The voltage is 3 volts. So each one's only going to get 1.5 volts. And that's often not enough to make the LED go. Okay, so just a little warning to be sure and hook them up like is shown, where you've got the 2 red wires together, and the 2 black wires together, and then push them onto the battery. And you'll have a parallel connection. And in parallel, both of the lights get the full voltage, which is 3 volts. That's actually another interesting little piece of science you could point out, and maybe they'll point out. This tiny little button battery gives 3 volts, but a AA battery that you got in the other project AA battery, if you look on that, you can find where it says 1.5 volts. So that's half as much. You get 2 of these kind of batteries, it equals the same voltage as this little button battery. Well, what's going on? How come you need these 2 fat batteries to give the same voltage as this skinny little battery? Well, there's another question you could ask is if you hooked both of these things up to something that needed 3 volts, which one do you think would last longer? The 2 AA's or the little button battery? They both give 3 volts, but which one would keep the light going or the motor going, motor turning or whatever longer?
Double A's.
It's the AA's, it's the bigger one, because there's more material in there to react. Inside of every battery, there's chemical reactions going on. There's chemicals coming together, materials coming together, doing a chemical reaction, and it gives off electrons. Actually, there's 2 reactions. One of them gives electrons and one of them needs electrons. So the battery sits there on the shelf on your cell in your drawer waiting to be used. It's got all those chemicals in there ready to go into action with a chemical reaction. But one of the chemical reactions needs electrons and the other one makes electrons, and then if you don't get rid of those electrons, it stops. So as the battery sits there in my hand, there's no reaction happening. The reactions are waiting. What are they waiting for? They're just waiting for a path, a pathway. They need a circuit, basically. They need a way to get from one side over to the other side. And if you give them that pathway, any way at all, any kind of a conductor, any kind of a little piece of wire, or a piece of aluminum foil, or a piece of iron, or salt water, you just connect the top of the battery to the bottom of the battery, you got your circuit. And the electricity starts flowing and the reaction starts happening. And the one reaction is creating electrons and the other reaction is taking the electrons. And that's what makes battery powered things go. Just because you've given that pathway for the electrons to travel. All right. So that's also, I'm not saying maybe you need to get this far down, but if kids have questions, it could easily get up to this point where you're saying, well, what about the voltage? You say it's 3 volts, but you say there's no reactions happening now. So how can it be 3 volts if there's no reactions? Well, that's what voltage is. Voltage is the pressure. It's the electrical potential for doing stuff. So this has got 3 volts, even though there's no current flowing yet. But then the minute you give it the current, then that voltage is what's pushing that current down the wire. And it pushes it down all the way until those chemicals are used up, and then the battery is dead. Okay, so you can have voltage with no current. Right here, I got this battery. It's full of, it's 3 volts. Or this one's 1.5 volts. But it's not going to give any current until I hook it up to something. Does all that make sense? Okay. Are there any more questions about the LED through the plexiglass? Not only is it a brilliant project that kids are going to love and they're going to take it home, or they're going to have it at home and keep it, but it's got optical science and it's got electrical science. So this is a real keeper. We got that from our sister site in Pennsylvania. And then there's art involved too, so the kid can make it exciting just the way they want it to. Okay, if you have trouble sticking it in the slot, maybe you have to get mean, make it go in there. And you can also use a sandpaper to scratch it out, or scissors or something, scratch it out. It's supposed to be tight. It's got to be tight. Okay, well, let's go to the other one. The other one is sort of brilliant in another manner. The other one is basically inviting the kids to play with electricity. You've got all these components, and you've got, where's my camera? And you've got the batteries as the source of power, or the energy source, energy supply, and then you've got a switch. The little switch is just like this. It's like Rachel was showing. Yeah, actually, Savannah's got it too. And it's worth figuring out the switch. You put the little paper fastener in exactly so that when the yeah, let's get our terminology right. We have a brass paper fastener and we have a mini binder clip. This is the binder clip. Okay, here comes Myra. Here's the binder clip, and this one here is the brass fastener. Okay, you want to put the binder clip on the end first and then flip the thing down, and then you'll know where to poke that hole. You poke the hole with a pencil or scissors right exactly where the binder clip handle is, because it's got to hit the top of the brass fastener. Okay, and the brass fastener goes in like that. And then before you fold the legs up, you got to hook one of the wires onto it. And the best wire to hook onto it is one of the battery wires. But everything I'm saying here is just a suggestion. The great thing about this project is you can hook up anything you want. You can tell them to completely ignore you and just play around with the stuff on their table and find out what they learn. Okay. So I got my red one hooked up to the brass fastener, and then I'm going to connect things now from the other. I'll go to the iPhone. Can you see the iPhone here? Get a little bit closer. From the handle of the binder clip over to the other lead on the batteries. The batteries have a red lead and a black lead. The red lead is positive, black lead is negative. That's just a convention that we've got. Doesn't mean anything. And when you hook things together, you twist them. The kids are going to learn to twist here. I was shocked a few years ago when I realized kids don't know how to twist wires together. But hey, that's a valuable skill. Time to learn. So they can do it here. And now when you flip the, can you see that? When you flip the binder clip thing down, then whatever you got there gets connected, and you can see what happens. Okay, so that's kind of a nice little switch. At the same time, you don't need that switch. You know, every place that you connect the wires together is a switch. A switch essentially means there's a break in the circuit. Okay, remember the circuit is the path. Circuit's the path of electricity. So any place that you break the circuit, that's a switch. That's just what happens when you turn on the light or turn off the lights in your house, is you just broken that circuit. So now the electrical current can't go down the wires to get to the lights. And so it's nice to hook things up with the switch, because then you can hook them up and then take them apart and turn it on and turn it off. But you don't have to have the switch. You can put the switch to the side. Okay, so you got now a few things to prepare. One is the motor. You're gonna put the motor, you're gonna put the leads on the motor. You got the skinny wires. They're gonna be best to go onto the motor. So you can twist those wires onto the little ears out the back of the motor. Be careful, don't bend the ears till they fall off. So then the motor is hooked up, and then you've got these little lights. You've got the electromagnet. The electromagnet is made by winding the red wire around the nail. Okay, just like in the video. The red wire is red because it's got insulation. It's got varnish insulation or paint insulation right on the wire. And if you want to connect up to it, you have to scratch that insulation off. So you got some sandpaper and you'll pinch it. See how I'm doing that? You pinch the wire in the sandpaper and then you pull it off. And you can see the wire change color as you pull and scratch that paint off. Now scratch it off as good as you can, but just on the last little tip, just the last little bit of the wire, because that's where you're going to hook it up. Okay. You may notice that each one of these things has two leads, call them leads or call them wires, two places to connect to. And that's great because it's a circuit. The electricity's got to go in and then it's got to come out again. So each little thing has a place for electricity to come in and then to go out. So that's the electromagnet. Don't think your electromagnet's going to work if you wind all the wire around and there's only one sticking out. Because then if you hook it up, then there's no place for the electricity to come back out. It's only going in. Okay. You don't have to wind your wire nicely. You don't have to make it beautiful. You can just wind it around and around and go back and forth. You can put it all in one place. Doesn't matter. It's going to work. Okay. So now you've got, and then you've got two or three other wires that you can use to connect things up. Now you've got some light bulbs, the LED, the motor, and the electromagnet together with your battery and switch. Well, think of the possibilities of how you could hook this up. You could hook up all different ways. You could try to hook them all up together, or you could hook them all up in series, or you could hook them all up in parallel. And you could hook up one in series with other ones in parallel. You could do it any way you want. And in fact, let's do it. Get out your little components there and put together something interesting, right? Make sure you understand how it works by putting one wire straight from the switch to the battery, and then hook up anything on there to those two wires then from the switch to the battery, and see if you can make it light up. And once it lights up, now think about what else you want to hook up. Put two lights, put the LED in there, put the motor in there, and see if they'll work together. Not just one thing, but several things together. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and you can put your camera on your stuff, or you can turn your camera off. But then I'm going to want to see what you made with your little circuit tinkering project kit. Okay, and begin. Okay, got like one more minute. And get ready to show something interesting, all right? I found a couple of interesting things, even that I hadn't seen before. So one more minute. Okay. We've got Rebecca claiming that she's no good at physics. Can't quite believe that, but she wants to see how to connect the wire to the paper clip. It's not a paper clip, it's a binder clip. The paper clip is the golden one. So you could see mine here. Can you see it? Actually, this camera is so close. So I got one twisted around the handle, the bottom handle, not the handle that you're using as a switch. I got one wire twisted around that, and the other wire is twisted around the leg of the brass fastener. Okay. So there's 2 points, 2 metal things on the switch. One is the brass fastener and one is the binder clip. And you need to connect one wire to each of those. Now, one of my wires is the battery wire, goes right to the battery. So that's how I keep the switch connected all the time. So this is like the switch and battery are in one unit. So then what I'm connecting onto this green wire coming from the switch and the black wire coming from the battery. And that's got my 3 volts across it, plus it's got the switch. So I can turn it off and on. Did that answer the question? Okay.
Sorry, can I see how the wire on the, like, how is the brass fastener, what is the brass fastener's role in this?
The brass fastener, I'll hold it up to this one now. You see how that binder clip handle comes down and smacks the
Yes.
top of the, well, the binder clip has got this green wire connected to the bottom of it. That's electrifying the whole binder clip. Then when I go over there, it's going to touch that brass fastener, and now the brass fastener is electrified. So all I need to do is hook another wire onto the brass fastener anywhere I want. And that's going to be my switch. Okay.
Okay, I see. So the battery power pack thing is what's attached there. does have.
Does anyone else have any questions before I ask for someone to show me something they discovered? Savannah's got the basic straight on light to batteries. You're not using the switch. And that's fine. You could do that.
For some reason, the LED light would not work with the switch. It was the only thing that doesn't.
Now,
All the other stuff, the Christmas lights and the motor, they all run perfectly with the switch, but this one needed a direct current.
now remember, the LED is a special one that electricity only goes through one way. So if you got an LED hooked up and you think it should work and it's not working, switch the wires, swap them around, red to black, black to red.
I used on one of them and it lit for a second, but as soon as I started twisting the wires together on that connection, it just stopped working. It just wouldn't go.
I don't
Even
think I.
when, like, it lit up for like a half a second and then it stopped lighting on the same line.
Interesting. And is it?
No, I think I just suck at physics.
It's still.
Oh, I'm not muted. Sorry.
It's still. When you hook it up directly, it still works, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means it's not broken. So it's fine.
I think it just needed a more direct current and the other stuff is just killing the flow.
Yeah, I like that. I like that terminology. You have to start thinking about how to explain what's going on here because it's really interesting. The flow, there has to be a flow, but then what's stopping the flow or what's helping the flow or what's slowing down the flow? These are all questions that you can talk about and try to use this terminology of a flow or a current. That's what we've got here is a current of electricity. All right, so who wants to show something interesting that they've got hooking up on their table? No, not everybody all at once. No, just a couple. Anything just moderately interesting. Maybe that 5 minutes was not enough time. When I was developing this, I played around with it for about 2 hours. So maybe you need more time. Okay, there's Rachel with her motor and a light. Motor and a light. And a switch. You got the switch on there too or not?
Yeah.
Dude, great.
But I tried to make an electric drill with this. I stuck it in the motor like this, but it kept going around and it really didn't work out well. But I really like how you were very creative with a corkscrew and a screw for a scratcher. I think the kids are gonna like.
So I don't mind if the ones at home need to come in for in-person testing.
Hey,
I'm
Myra.
willing to do that.
I'm gonna mute her. I just muted her. I hope she's not offended. Right. So Rachel, you want to hold that up one more time because I didn't notice if that battery, if the light and the motor are in parallel or if they're in series. Let's see if we could tell. Hold it right up to the camera. Okay, so the light is hooked basically straight across those two leads from the motor. So would that be
Yes.
series or parallel?
I would say that's parallel.
Yeah, it is parallel.
Yep.
That's right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So the light and the motor are in parallel.
Cool projects.
And that light, by the way, did you notice that light? Was it brighter than if you, or was it dimmer than if you just hook it up straight? Or was it brighter or was it about the same?
I would say if you hooked it up directly, it's way brighter. And then if you also play with your old battery, the little one, you can noticeably see how much less dim they are between the two different types.
Mm.
Is interesting.
So if you get that little button battery from the other project and you hook it up over this stuff, you'll see the difference between the energy capability of a little battery and a big battery. And by the way, you
I-
can also kill it a lot faster. So you
Yeah,
must-
I use it as a light tester too, because you never know with Christmas lights. You never know.
that's right. Absolutely. Okay, so let's see. Norma showed something and Savannah showed something. You want to show yours again, Norma?
Oops.
Whoop, it keeps falling apart. Okay, so we got the switch and the wire and the battery. It's just the switch, the wire, and the battery, huh? Yeah? Okay. Hey, by the way, you could talk about the battery and the switch also if they're in parallel or series. Which one are they? On Norma's thing there, is that hooked up in series or parallel? Anyone? Well, let me tell you that the switch, if you want the switch to work, the switch has always got to be hooked up in series. Because when you open the switch, you want to stop all the current from flowing. So whatever else you've got in line there, it's got to be in series with the switch. That's the same way it is with the lights. It doesn't matter how many lights are in the room on the ceiling. When you open the switch, then they all go off. That means they're all in series together with the switch. Those lights might be in parallel with each other, but they're in series with the switch. Okay, now Savannah, you want to show that thing again? What did you have there? The motor and the light?
Yeah. I have a light and a motor. And I was gonna say, one thing I noticed when I was testing out with multiple lights, because I don't have enough of these connectors together, that I daisy chained them in sequence against each other like this. They're a lot dimmer without that extra space.
Excellent observation. But actually, I think if you put those things back in there, they'd still be dim. When you put them together one by one, you call it a daisy chain. That's the series. That's a series connection. So when they're all together like that in series, they're sharing that voltage. They're dividing the voltage. So if you put 3 on a 3 volts, now they're only getting 1 volt each. So it makes sense they would be dimmer. Now you can hook them up in parallel instead. And yeah, by the way, those extra wires, you don't have to put them in there. You can connect everything straight to everything else if you want. The wires are just to help if you want to connect different stuff in different places. So you can hook your lights up instead of the daisy chain. You can do it where they're kind of hugging each other, 1 to 1, just like that. Okay. And then you can hook that up. And then you'll notice if you put 2 of them like that or 2 of them like that, you'll notice a difference in the brightness. Okay. So you can try that and see if you notice it. By the way, the brightness of the light and the speed of the motor and the strength of the electromagnet, those things are all little indicators of how much current is going down the circuit. So you can say the more current is going down, the brighter the light's going to be. The more current is going down, the faster the motor is going to be spinning. And the more current going through, the more paper clips that electromagnet is going to pick up. So we don't have a meter, we don't have an electricity meter here that would tell us exactly how many milliamps is going down the circuit, but we have these other things that'll tell us. So Savannah just had the 3 lights with a daisy chain, and she said they're really dim. So what that means is she has put a damper on the current. She's stopped that current. She's resisting that current. And that's the technical word. It's called a resistance. The more lights you have in series, the more resistance is in your circuit. So the more resistance you have, the less current you have. And with just that, just that much information, you can really figure out a lot of stuff that's going on. Does anyone else want to show something? Okay, well, I'll show something. I've got, oh my gosh, what happened? My battery went. Oh, there I am. Can you see can you still see the iPhone? Oh no, I don't see it. Oh yeah, there it is, yeah. Okay, you can see I got a light and a motor and the LED. The light is not lit and the motor is not turning, but the LED is glowing. They're all in series. They're just hand to hand, daisy chain, the light, the motor, and the LED. So I just told you that if the LED is glowing, that means there's a current going through it, right? But the other light is not glowing. The red light's not glowing, and the motor's not turning. That's amazing, isn't it? Now watch this. I pick up the motor, and I'm going to give it a little spin. Watch the LED. I hope my camera is fast enough to be catching this. You see what's happening? The LED is flickering. It's flickering just a little bit when I turn the motor. It's getting brighter and dimmer. So that means there is a current going through the motor, but it's just not enough to make it turn. And there is a current going through the red light. It's just not enough to make it glow. But the LED, like I said, that's the most efficient one. That one just need a teeny tiny little current and you got some light. And so that's what's happening there. Now, if I take out the LED and I just put the motor and the light in series, then it works. The light lights up and the motor turns. Sometimes you have to give a little push to the motor. A motor is a lot like a lot of things. If you're going to push something, like if you want to push your car or if you're going to push a big old box, it takes more work to get it going than it takes to keep it going. Once the car is going, it doesn't take that much work to keep it going. So the motor is the same way. The hardest thing about a motor is to start it, but once it's starting, it's going to keep going. So if I stop it, then it'll stay stopped. And if I hit it again, it'll start up again. So that's something your kids might notice. So now I've got the lights and the motor in series. Not like just a minute ago, Rachel had them in parallel. I've got them in series, and the light is a little bit dimmer. I don't know if you can notice it. If I hook up the light directly, that's how bright it is. If I hook it up in series, it's that bright. And it also changes. The brightness changes if I twist the motor or if I stop the motor. Everything I do to change something makes a change in the current that's going down there. By the way, there's every chance that your kids are going to ask a question that you're not going to be able to answer. Here's the plan, all right? I want everybody to repeat after me. Some kid just asks a question and says, wait a minute. This is cool. I got this going and this is going, but then this is not working and this one's dimmer and this one's brighter. Why is that? Okay, repeat after me. Yeah, why is that? I didn't hear anybody. Everybody's muted, but I'll trust you. I'll trust you.
Yeah, why is that?
What is
Yeah,
that?
why is that?
Let's do that one more time, okay? My battery was new just a minute ago, and now it seems like it's dead and it's burning hot. What happened there? Ready? Yeah.
Yeah, why is that?
What happened there?
Exactly. First of all, don't try to answer it if you don't know the answer. Definitely don't do that. And second of all, remember the answers are not nearly as important as the questions. The first thing you should feel when the kid asks a question that you can't answer is pride, because you led them to that question and they are asking a good question. That's education. That's just about to happen. This really great educational moment. So first of all, already success, 100% success. The kid is asking a sophisticated question. That's great. And then the second thing to remember is a lot of times, if you have the answer and you just say, oh, well, that's because the battery was short circuited and now all of the chemical reactions have finished. And so there's no more voltage to push the current through. That's the wrong answer, even though it's technically correct. That will stifle the kid's curiosity, and it will also make them think that maybe they understand it, which is not true. It'll take a long time to understand that. So the main thing is to keep them engaged, keep them trying to fiddle with it. So you say, yeah, why is that? And maybe you could try this. Did you try this? Did you try connecting it this way? Or this student over here, I see they connected it this way. Maybe you could try. I mean, just keep them playing and thinking and questioning. And there you go. You're being a fantastic facilitator of learning. Okay. So we want you all to start off by understanding that there's a lot of stuff here that you might not understand, and even some stuff I don't understand, and that doesn't matter. That's the way the world is. And if the kids are asking questions about it and playing around with it and looking for the answers, then we're doing our job extra specially good. Okay. By the way, if any of you have families, any kids of any age above 4, bring this stuff home, play with it with them, and you can find out even more interesting stuff. I often learn stuff directly from my students, giving them a chance to just play around with it. So that's what this one called is circuit tinkering. Circuit tinkering. So there's all sorts of circuits to be made, and you tinker around and you figure out different ones work, different ones get you doing what you think it was going to do, other ones do what you never expected it to do, and you can learn a lot of stuff. And when you're done, you could make something out of it. You know, we have a lot of projects here where we make like a blinking light or something, or a little light that shows on a picture, so you could look at it at the night or something, or that little hopping robot. You see, you've got everything you need here to make another one, right? You got the batteries and the motor. You could tape it onto a cup and you'll have another one. All right. So they could take this any direction they want, and they can put more stuff. They can go find some junk from their yard or their kitchen, and they can try to hook it up and see if it works. Don't let them hook it up to the electricity that comes out of the wall, right? That's a different story. That's alternating current, high voltage. You don't want to play with that. This is all low voltage, tiny wires, and it's completely safe. Everything here you can put in your mouth and it won't hurt. Okay, so give them give them encouragement to keep on tinkering, keep on playing around, make whatever they want out of this stuff, and enjoy. Okay, I think
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Once again, if you need anything else, you can contact us here at the Science Workshop.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you.
Good, Kurt. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.